Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-COL credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. Man, we are powered by the OBBM network. And if you guys don't know, we are blowing up on all social media platforms. Thank you to OBBM. We are now live on Roku. I don't know how to say it, but is that how I'm saying it? Roku. So, man, you can watch it right on your living room couch. Just stream it live right to your TV. YouTube, there's so many of them. All your podcasts. Share it with friends, like it, and be notified every time we go on Mondays. Welcome, Sam. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Yeah, we want to thank everybody out there for tuning in each week to just the demand, right? And it's all because of you guys and the amazing guests that we have on and the interactions and interplays. So if you want to jump on and say hi, we'll say hi back during the show. And if you want to ask questions, we've got a live stream. So wanted to announce that. We kind of got away from that for a while because it was a little distracting, but now that's back up since we're running live on every social media platform. So
yeah, it's real nice because a lot of our listeners want to ask questions when they hear it, and we can get you that answer from the therapist, from the author, whoever our guest is. They can answer it to you directly. So that's a nice feature that we have.
Yeah. So John, a lot going on locally.
Yeah. Want to welcome back, our firefighters from all over, but also the firefighters from Rockwall who, man, they were out there battling the Panhandle wildfires for a couple of weeks. And thank God they all came home safely. I want to thank all the firefighters who really worked around the clock over in the Panhandle. Over 1 million acres burnt. And I don't think we lost anybody. I think we lost one firefighter that was out there, a chief, but not to the wildfire. But he was fighting another fire. He responded to a house fire, went in to do a rescue, and never came out. So our prayers go to him and his family as well. But that's what our firefighters and our police officers battle each and every day. They don't know what today is going to bring. They don't know what each moment's going to bring. And, our guest today helps so much. Equine Therapy is one of those resources that we fail to think about as first responders. We don't think about how animals or horses can really bring peace and mental stableness to our, inner mindset. And, this actually saved my life because when we were doing that podcast, when we were doing an interview back in a couple of years ago with one of the equine therapy groups, and I never really thought about it. And we went into the pen, and I was in a hypervigilant state for almost 30 years through firefighting, law enforcement, and everything else. And after about 15 minutes of talk therapy with the instructors and the counselors there on teaching me what to do and how to do it, it was the most unreal feeling that I've ever had. It felt like everything just melted away. It was scary because I've never been in that kind of mindset before. I've always been in that, ready to go. And I'm talking about it. I'm starting to sweat and get chills about it because it was so meaningful. And I can't wait to hear more about what our guest is going to bring to the table and to our first responders out there.
Yeah, and I got to watch it, and it was really amazing. And when you said like melt, you could see everything about your face. Everything became relaxed. Your shoulders dropped, and you were just in the moment with the horses. So We know that they heal, but really understanding how that happens is why we have our guests on today. So let's welcome the founder of Aisling Equine Therapy, Paige Courtney, to a Badge of Honor podcast. Welcome, Paige.
Hey, welcome, Paige.
Thanks for having us.
Oh,
Absolutely.
You're very welcome.
So just tell everybody watching and listening a little bit about you. I know you started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away as a dispatcher.
I did. So yeah, I've actually never known a life without horses. My dad's been in the horse business, and so we kind of have this joke that I was spit out onto one, which is not too far off. And so I've never not known them. And anyway, fast forward, graduate high school. I ended up volunteering at an equine therapy center, went to college, didn't finish college because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And I became a 911 dispatcher. I dispatched for Garland for a month.
Well, thank you.
12 years. Yeah, absolutely. And I love the job. And while I was dispatching, I started volunteering at an equine therapy center. And I always said that the only way I would ever quit dispatching would be if I could do this full time. And so I got that opportunity in 2018. I left Garland to do this full time. And so this is what I do. But I actually went back part time a little over a year ago now. So I still dispatch part time. But what I've realized now, it's kind of like people that live at the beach. They live at the beach and people say, "Oh, I bet you spend all your time at the beach." And they're like, "No, I'd rather go to the beach." And so I think I always kind of took for granted the horses, because I've never not known what it was like for them to not be around. When I look back now, I realize that they've been saving me and regulating me my whole life, and so when I founded Aisling, I did that with the intention of being able to focus on veterans, first responders, their families. I dispatch, my brother's a career Marine. He's about to hit 22 years,
Wow.
EOD warrant officer. And then also my niece was born with severe special needs. And so it's all very personal to me. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Wow.
Well, we messed up the name right from the get-go, so sorry about that. So tell us a little bit, what is Aisling, not Aisling?
Aisling.
Yeah,
No,
what is
it's fine. So my heritage is Irish, and Aisling is actually Irish Gaelic, and it means dream or vision, because this is mine. So that's why I came up with the name.
That is awesome.
We speak a lot about 911 dispatchers. They are the unsung heroes. They never get to close the book on calls, and they kind of leave a lot of stuff open. So you guys are open to a lot more stress than people think about. Not only the phone calls, but the aftermath and not being able to get that mental closure that you guys so need. How did horses connect with that in your life after a shift?
So, and I know the more we talk, we'll get more into like how they work and why they work, and it will all make a little more sense. But exactly that feeling that you were talking about, where everything just kind of drops away. When I think of every good day in my life, I think of every bad day in my life, like they were there. And when I have a bad shift, it's that decompression, that right. Once you get off, because you're go, you get off, you've got to stop. And that's where I go. I go to them because they don't know how to not live in the moment. And to be around them, that's where we have to go. That's where we have to go, is to that moment. And so those bad shifts, that's where, just spending that time with them, they're my regulators,
You bring something up, and you bring up that word that so many first responders think they live in. We live in the moment. But that's not so true. We live in the future. We're always looking for that next threat, right? So we don't ever get a chance to live in that moment. We're always living 3 steps, 4 steps ahead of what we're anticipating bad, right?
Or we're caught in ruminating about,
yes.
some
the past.
really bad call. Yeah.
Right. So we never really get to feel that really true living in the moment feeling. When did you think, because you're in a horse business in New York, they'd be like, the horse business, huh? But you were in a horse business. When was that turning point that you said, hey, this can really help first responders and veterans and help in mental health? When was that turning point?
When that's where I went. So when I think back about, growing up and I think about all the horses, I never wanted any part of the business, right? I always just wanted to be around them. Now I know why, because now I know why. I mean, simple as that. And so, when I started to realize that my calm comes from them, and then I started to really think about, because equine therapy over the last 20 years has really started to kind of come to light, of just how powerful it is and how beneficial it is. So, just being able to be around them and having my own stuff to deal with and knowing that's where I needed to go, and then start thinking about, okay, but why? What is it about these horses that makes it that's where I want to be? And so when you start thinking about it, and this is what's so incredible about it to me, I hear a lot. People will say, well, they're like therapy dogs. They're nothing like therapy dogs. And there's one main difference. And that difference is the fact that they are prey animals. And
what?
They're prey animals. They're not predators. They're prey animals. And that changes everything. So they are wonderfully and beautifully made. We don't teach them to do anything. It's just the way they are. So if you go and you think about just the way they're made, so the frontal lobe, which is exactly what you were just talking about the planning, the abstract thinking, what's coming next, how am I going to handle this, all of those things. So the part of our brain is actually bigger in that aspect than the horses, right? Because of exactly what you were just talking about. Well, if you think about the opposite side of that, the parts of the brain that make us react are actually bigger in the horses than they are in ours. So horses actually live in the moment 100% of the time. They don't even have the ability to think about what's coming 3 days from now, 2 days from now, 2 hours from now, and they don't have the ability to ruminate like you were just talking about. And so everything and this is probably what I envy about them the most, is that they live in a peaceful state of hypervigilance all of the time. Because
a peaceful state of hypervigilance. I love that.
We're going to have to explore that. We got to take our first break, and we'll come back and pick up from here. We'll be right back, everybody.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our special guest, Paige. We're discussing equine therapy and how it changed my life. I tell it at all our workshops. It's the forgotten resource that a lot of first responders never look for, and they go, well, how could this help me? How could this benefit me? What is a horse going to do for me? And Paige is explaining to us in the beginning of the show on just how powerful they help with our mental health and our mental mindset. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, Paige.
Yeah, and just real quick, we've got Sasha from Florida. And she's saying, thank you for shining the light on equine therapy and the beautiful benefits of these animals. So the live comment is open. So thank you, Sasha, for that. So peaceful hypervigilance.
Does it make sense?
Let's unpackage that, because if you're a first responder and you're listening, you and like John and I went, wait, what? Because yeah, it's not so peaceful from the human standpoint.
No. So with horses being prey animals, if you think about, they are constantly assessing their surroundings for threats. They're not necessarily looking for them, but they are ready at all points in time to react to them. And really this is why they live in the moment, and how they're able to live in the moment is because they live in their senses all the time. What do they see? What do they smell? What do they feel? What do they hear? And so they are constantly on alert. But yet just think about when you look out into a pasture and you see all these horses laying down or just grazing, and they're still and nothing's going on. But yet, I can promise you they know everything that is going on.
Right, because if you approach them from the back, they know you're coming. They don't have eyes back there, but they know you're coming. Yeah.
Right. And so they're able to live peacefully while constantly being aware, I love when I tell people that, because they're like, what? Because no, it doesn't make sense to us, right. But it's pretty fascinating, Go ahead.
Do you think a human being could ever get into that? I mean, what would it take for us to? I mean, because we want to live in the moment, but we also want to be vigilant. So, is there a possibility of getting into that peaceful, hyper vigilant state?
I don't know, because our brains are wired differently than the horses, right? When we were just talking about how, our way of thinking versus their way of thinking, the way that brain works. So our brains are hardwired differently. So the question of, can we absolutely get there? Probably not. But can we get to moments of it? Yes. And I feel like when you were telling your story, that's what you were experiencing. Yeah. I think about, so we go to California. We partner with Rain's Therapeutic Riding Center, which is right outside the south gates of Pendleton. And so we go out there and we have day-long workshops where we work with the Marines. And there's, and I think this is probably when I saw it on the biggest scale, but we do an actual exercise. It's a grounding exercise where that's where we start talking about the senses and closing our eyes, putting our hands on the horses. What do you feel? What do you smell? All of these things. And to see the way those horses react, to see the way they react, and I mean, literally across the board, right? And it's just, it's still, it's quiet. And at the end of those, we always give them a chance to write down what they got out of it. And I will never forget reading one of them. And he said, I now know what it means, or I now know how it feels when my brain and my body are quiet. And he said, and I haven't felt that in a really long time. And so I don't think we can ever get there completely, because I don't think our brains are wired that way, but I think we can get to moments of it. And those horses help us do that.
I wish I would have uploaded an old film, 28 Days. Remember 28 Days? Mm-hmm. With Sandra Bullock? Because the horse has so many different abilities to heal us as human beings, either mentally or those who are battling addiction. And in 28 Days, they showed the frustration factor of Sandra Bullock trying to shoe the horse, because she was in a different mindset. She was in a mindset, and the horse, again, is now he's not putting up his foot because you're giving off that I guess that aura, right? So they're reading that. But at the end, when she was healing more through those 28-day steps, the horse let her shoe it, and she let you pick up the foot. So the whatever it is, the leg, whatever. But and she was able to do it, and it shows the transition from how we can change our aura with the horse. That's going to have a big effect on how we're perceived by others as well. because it's going to change our whole emotional well-being.
And that's huge, right? Because horses don't function in the world of words. They communicate, but yet they are master communicators. So they, communicate with body language, and they communicate with energy, which is, exactly what you're talking about. You hear people say, I walked into the room and you could cut a tension with a knife. That's what that is. And so, but they feel that in ways that we can't even fathom, And so when it comes to that communication, they already know what we feel before we know what we feel. And so it makes us so mindful. So if you think about a scale of 0 to 10, okay, 0 being absolutely just nothing, I'm fine, great, it's wonderful, 10 being a blow up, right? A lot of times we don't even realize that we're getting to 10 until we're at like 7, 8, 9, and by then it's too late. Well, these guys, they just, because of their intuition, they are able to feel when we go from a 1.1 to a 1.2 to a 1. On such a small scale, those emotional changes. And what happens is they react to us, to those emotional changes. And so what it does is it actually gives us the ability to almost see ourselves outside of our bodies, because when we get those reactions, it's that immediately turnaround of, okay, what's changed with me, And so we are able to start catching things on such a smaller level, before we get to 7, 8, 9, and becoming so much more mindful of everything. It's exactly what you're talking about. And so the thing about it too is with horses being prey animals, if they already know what we're feeling and we're trying to squash that feeling or argue that feeling, at that point to them, we become liars, because we are trying to out-talk ourselves out of whatever truly that feeling is. And the fact of the matter is that horse knows what that is. And so knowing that they're prey animals, if we're liars, what are we? We're a threat,
Right.
And so, yes. And so what happens is, in exactly the scenario you just gave with her, it's when we start to have those realizations and we start to acknowledge the feelings that healing starts to happen. Because when we acknowledge, then we can deal with, and then it becomes the same, and we're no longer a threat. And you can't lie to them. You can't lie to them. They already know.
It teaches us how to shut our bodies down.
Yeah.
Well, it teaches us the awareness piece first. We got to take our next quick break. We'll be right back to continue the conversation. Stay tuned, everybody.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our guest Paige, discussing equine therapy, talking about how, just before the break, we were talking about how a horse actually decompresses our own mental health. And unlike a therapy dog who's going to comfort us when we are at our highest, right? A horse will not do that. A horse teaches us how to bring our own self down, correct?
Right. We have to. Yeah, we don't get that option.
Horse ain't going to comfort us.
He's not going to stay in the uncomfortable, and so, yeah, so like your dogs, they're like, oh, they're sad. Let me go, and I'm not saying sometimes that doesn't happen. But it happens, for different reasons. Yeah. So it makes us have to figure out how to deal with our own stuff, how to regulate that, how to acknowledge it. And then we can, then that's what those horses are drawn to. They're drawn to the honesty, and that's that's what's so cool about it, is because, you think about, like, when you're talking to a person, how many people are scared or afraid or whatever it may be to go sit down and talk to somebody because of the judgment that may come with it. Whereas with the horses, that completely goes away, because no matter what that feeling is, all they're asking for you is to acknowledge it and be honest, and they're drawn to it, and so that judgment is gone. There's no, so I actually do a program here in Rockwall County for the inmates, and I go once a week, and that is one of the things that has come out the most, is how many of them are absolutely just completely surprised that the horses even want to be around them.
You bring the horses to the facility?
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But how many that they even just want to be around them? And, I always tell them, like, look, horses live in the present. They don't care why you're here, and they don't care what you did. All they care about is what you bring them on any given day. And that's what it is. And it's the same, for any of us. Yeah. So
I just want to touch briefly on almost the horse picks up on what you're giving off, basically. So if you enter their space, and you are super stressed out for whatever reason, are they just going to stay away from you and look at you? And is that a clue to be like, hey, we're not going to be next to each other until you change your energy?
Yeah.
So we can change our energy and still feel stressed.
Correct.
Or does everything kind of have to come down for the horse to even want to interact with us? And then what's the ultimate goal?
Yeah. So, so it's about that. It's kind of about that regulation, right? And so, I won't even necessarily say that all the time you have to come completely down. Okay. If you think about a teapot, you're a tea kettle, and you turn it on and it starts. Yep. Yeah. Are you going to sing for us, too?
I was almost about to sing.
And you turn on right, and then it starts boiling, and eventually it's going to spew, that's what happens with us. We hold it until we spew. So when you think about being around the horses, let's say that you're in that state, right? You're in that state where you're high and you're about to spew, but you are doing everything that you possibly can to try to bring it down. I'm going to bring it down, but you can't because you don't know how, whether that's your brain, your body, you're having those reactions. So you don't know how. And so ultimately what you're doing at that point is you're fighting that. You're fighting that feeling that needs to happen. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so when you're fighting that feeling that needs to happen, that's what that horse is not, he doesn't want any part of, And so, but think about what happens when the tea kettle spews. When it goes off, the pressure releases, right? And it automatically starts to come down. And so sometimes it's not even so much that we have to completely regulate ourselves to get them to want to be around us. But what we do have to do is we have to acknowledge what the feeling is, and we have to be able to look at it and be ready to deal with it. If we are trying to push it away, they're not coming around because they don't want any part of that.
So you run a couple of different, I'll call it types of therapeutic of therapies with the horses. Can you talk us a little bit about those programs?
Yeah. So I still actually have a couple of kids that still ride with me. So there's the therapeutic riding, which is going to be more for your physical benefits. If you think about that, if you turn a horse sideways, you cut him in half, his gait is actually identical to a human's. And so when you say that they literally become their legs, they literally become their legs. So let's say that you have a kid that is in a wheelchair, their legs don't work. But that also means that every other part of their body that works when a person's legs move doesn't work either. So you take them, you put them on the horse, that horse starts walking, and it literally gives them all of those movements that they would get if they were on the ground with their own two legs. And so that therapeutic riding is going to be more for the physical benefits. There's the equine assisted psychotherapy, which is where we actually, where we pull in the mental health professionals, partner And then there's the equine assisted learning. The only difference between the equine assisted psychotherapy and the equine assisted learning, which is EAP and EAL for short, because that's a mouthful, is the fact that there is an actual mental health professional involved versus a mental health professional not involved. So those EALs may be run as a supplement to office sessions, so it can be used, or even working with schools with IEPs, for different kids. And so the programs are, I'm very set, or I'm not a black and white person, because I don't think that there's a one size fits all for everybody. So, I have some people that will come, they may come one time, exactly kind of like what you were talking about. They may come one time and that's it. I have some that have been coming for years,
Well, I should have gone back.
Yeah.
I should have gone back.
Yeah.
But, I agree with you. You have to get that feeling. You have to get that initial feeling. And, I should have, like I said, I should have continued it. But,
So, John, you're talking about have that initial breakthrough and then
have the initial breakthrough, feel it and go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
But I had Sam, through a badge of honor. I have that other support system, but if someone doesn't, continue with it, because it will have a huge effect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're talking with Paige Courtney. She is the founder of Ashling, got it right, Equine Therapy, and we're going to continue to unpackage what the therapy looks like when we come back from our next break. Stay tuned, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, with our guest Paige, discussing the equine therapy. You notice I didn't say the name because I would screw it up worse than Sam did. So discussing equine therapy and the benefits that it has. And like I said, equine therapy was wonderful for me, as it changed my life. And we're talking about first responders and veterans. Now with Sam and Badge of Honor, we've been starting to really unpackage family issues. So with equine therapy, with children that have maybe vicarious trauma through an alcoholic dad or a stressful first responder who's coming home, and whatever their issues are, the child gets a little vicarious trauma. They feel they got to go to their room, or they got to hide, or they can't say them. What are the therapeutic benefits for a family to come to equine therapy and really connect all together and bring that family unit back together?
So one of the biggest things that comes out, especially when you start looking at like groups, whether it's even just couples, or even as whole families, is communication. Because we just talked about, the fact that horses are master communicators. When you start putting families into those positions with the horses to work, it very quickly shows the family dynamics. Because you put them in with a herd of horses and you give them a task. I mean, within seconds, you're going to see who's the leader, who's the follower, who's the watcher, who's the talker, and then you can't make a 1,200-pound animal do anything, So watching how they figure out, how to complete that task. But also too, when you put these guys, families like that in a situation where they all have to work together, it also puts them almost like on a level playing field too, with the parents, and it's really interesting to see, because a lot of times it may be the kids that figure out how to make the horse do whatever it is that they want the horse to do. It is extremely beneficial for couples and extremely beneficial for families.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, John, when you and I were working together separately with the horses, is you have to realize that they're not big dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So Paige, when you said, you can't say, come on,
Yeah.
let's go, where a dog will respond if they're trained to come. Yeah, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work. No, it doesn't work. And so, and when you can, things too, like boundaries. I mean, that's a huge one that comes up all the time, because you're never going to convince a 1,200-pound animal that you have clear, consistent boundaries if you don't either.
Right.
And so, but if you think about it too, especially when you kind of go back to that family dynamic, like you were just talking about, horses are social creatures. They live in herds. The way that they interact with each other, is very much like us as humans. And so when you start to put those families in those positions where they can actually see what that looks like, what the healthy relationships look like, how the communication happens, all of those things. I mean, it is the benefits to that are never ending. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Can people, individuals and couples, go to your website and sign up, or is there a structure where they go to the practitioner first and then they're referred? How exactly does that work? So
we can go both ways. Sometimes we get referrals from, the mental health professionals, whether they're new clients, whether they are somebody that they're already seeing. But then they can also come straight to the website as well, and we can work, the other way. And I don't actually have a sign up on the website for the simple reason of what we were talking about earlier of I don't like the black and white, right? I want to be able to talk to somebody and let's see what you're looking for, because then that's going to better help us figure out which way we need to go, Right.
Yeah. And is there a protocol or like a checklist that you're looking for, something, non-first responder versus first responder veteran, first responder family versus a non-first responder family? Are there, like, you got to check the boxes on something, whether it's working with you or the kind of or the horse?
Yeah, so everybody that comes through us is going to work with the horses regardless. And I do sessions as well that are not with veterans, first responders, or their families. I work with a lot of kids with autism. But as far as checking the boxes, that's one of those things that once we have that initial conversation, there's just things that I want to know. I do have an intake form, but that's all specific to each person, because there are things that I'm going to want to know that we just need to know moving forward as far as diagnosis, medications, things like that.
Right.
But, other than that, I mean, it's a pretty simple process to get started, just a phone call.
Well, let me ask them, because if they get over that phone call, that's great. But first responders as the big red S is on their chest, they are chicken shit and scared to go anything that's got to do with therapy. So I'm a first responder. I'm battling. I'm going, hey, I'm going to do this equine therapy. I call you up and we discuss. I say, I'm stressing out. I want to take this class. You say, okay, come on down. What do I expect from there? I come to your location. What do I expect? What are some of the things that I'm first going to get into? Because it's fearful for me.
It's taking away the unknown, not that we're chicken shit. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So that initial visit is going to be, because it's even in my mission statement, provide a safe place, because I think that is absolutely huge. So you're going to come down, you're going to see the place. We're going to introduce you to the horses. We're going to just have that initial conversation of, starting to build that rapport. I want to know about you. I want you to know about me too. I want this, to start safe. And then from that point, I don't ever ask anybody at that moment to fill out, that form right then and there. because I don't want that pressure either. I want it to be relaxed, Yeah. And then I always, on that first visit, put them out with the horses to give them a taste of exactly what you experienced, because even that 10 or 15 minutes can be what changes whether they come back or whether they don't. And what I have found over the years is that if I can get somebody out there one time, 99% of the time they're going to come back.
Well, it's a different form of raising awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We John and I, and our team, we do the workshops where we talk about not one size fits all, but we talk about what happens when you're repeatedly exposed to trauma and how you have to be able to recognize the changes in you. And sometimes it takes a horse, right, John?
Yeah.
So I've had for those of you that are watching, AishlingEquineTherapy.com, for everybody who's listening on your favorite podcast app. It is spelled AISLING, EquineTherapy.com, not ASH like we've been. It's the Irish. That says Aisling, but it's AISLING. And we will be right back after we take this break. Stay tuned, everybody.
To the Health Engineer Show. I'm Cliff Buckley, the Health Engineer, right here on the Offbeat Business.
Hi, I'm Larry Cortamper.
Hi, my name is Susan Hamilton, and you're watching Offbeat. Hi, this is Doreen Milano. Welcome to Big Ideas Small Business, where we will talk to Terry Arjala.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, and our guest Paige, talking about equine therapy and the benefits that it has. We discussed so much on how powerful equine therapy is. And, Sam, you got dogs. I got dogs. I let my dogs run out in the backyard. You maybe walk your dogs. So walking a dog is okay. It's therapeutic. But I don't think I've ever felt so calming when I was able to walk the horse around the pen, And while we were discussing this, I'm almost visualizing that day where we were there, and I'm still choked up. I'm still feeling it, because just to get the horse to come to me was a huge breakthrough. Then to be able to just have that huge 1,200-pound beautiful animal walk beside me, I felt, wow, I really did something. I changed. I'm feeling, look what I did, And that was an experience of a lifetime, and every first responder should try to benefit from this.
Yeah. So it's funny, because when I went out to California for the first time, worked with the Marines out at Pendleton, my brother was there. And I always told everybody, I kept telling him, I said, he's going to be my biggest critic, right? Because he's my brother.
Yeah.
And after
no judgment.
Yeah. After the day ended, I'll never forget him. He was standing there, and he wasn't looking at me, he was just kind of staring out. And he goes, "How do you explain this to somebody?" And I said, "I don't know that you can, because, even just sitting here talking to you guys, the layers of it, it's layer after layer after layer after layer." And I'm sitting here in my mind thinking of just story after story after story of things that have happened. And I don't know, it's so hard to explain to somebody until you feel it like you did. I mean, and that's why I always say, just, horses aren't going to be everybody's thing, but go try it. Just go try it one time. Because I can assure you, you won't regret it. It's incredible stuff, and I think, so I do want to tell y'all this one story, because I think, hearing you, John, and then hearing you, Sam, and y'all talking about just your experience with it, and talking about the awareness and the release of the pressure, which how often does that happen with first responders? It doesn't.
We have to train ourselves to do it.
Yeah. All of those things, and I think about one story in particular that hits on almost everything that we have talked about. And So I had this horse and he was turned loose in a pen, in an arena. And we were standing there and there was a girl in there and she'd been coming for a while. And she had something that she had been holding on to for so long. And we all kind of had a suspicion, but we weren't going to be the ones to say it because that wasn't our story to tell. And so she's standing in the pen and this horse he's eating, he's just eating. And she's talking and she's talking. And the more she talks, the madder she gets. And that, you could just feel it. You could feel it.
She's talking to the horse.
She's talking to us. And he's just loose. And she's talking to us and she's getting angrier and she's getting angrier and her body's tensing up. And I'm watching the horse and he never picks his head up from eating, but he's steadily moving as far away as he can intentionally. He's moving to the other end of the pen. And she's talking about that tea kettle, and she's steaming and she's steaming and she's steaming. And all of a sudden she clenched her fist and she just screamed at the top of her lungs what we'd been waiting to hear her say. And by this point, that horse was all the way at the other end of the pen, right? And he wasn't nervous. We were talking about, he was moving away from that, right? He was moving
in a safe zone.
Yeah, he was moving away. And when she released that and she screamed that and she just took this big and she just, right. And she just dropped her shoulders. Like you could just feel it. And that horse picked up his head and he looked at her and he came walking from the other end of the pen all the way back to us. He walked around us twice. He just let out this huge sigh and he laid down next to her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Laid down.
He laid down next to her.
Wow.
And that I always think about that story when we talk about, when you try to explain the awareness, the turmoil within yourself of not wanting to acknowledge, whether it's the feeling or whatever that truth may be, that turmoil that you have within yourself and what it causes and all of those things. And, and then you were talking about, Sam, so you have to calm yourself. It's not necessarily the calm, it's the realization and the acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. And when she did that, it was safe for him to come back. And that kind of that story in itself kind of hits on all of the points so far that we've talked about of just how that works.
That had to be incredible to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was incredible to see. And it was just, it's still one. I just sit here and, it's emotional,
Yeah, I bet.
But, and the thing about it is that kind of stuff happens all the time,
That is amazing. Yeah. So, if you guys are impacted by a story like that, like I know I'm feeling it for sure. Yeah. And I know, John, you are too. Talk with Paige, give her a call at ashlingequinetherapy.com. You can get the number there. Again, it's AISLING Equine Therapy. I'll put it in the show notes for all of you listening on your favorite podcast app. You've got a benefit coming up, which will be a chance for people to connect directly with you and find out more about what you do and actually possibly even see it in action. Can you talk about what the event in May?
Yeah, so we're having Saturday, May the 18th at the Mesquite Rodeo Arena. We're having a ranch rodeo. A little bit different from the rodeos you see on TV. The rodeos you see on TV are going to be your barrels and your bulls and all of those things. This is actually going to be, it's a team event. So they're 4-man teams, 10 teams total. And these guys are actual cowboys coming off the ranches. This is what they do every day. And so the events that they run will be, they will mimic what they do on the ranch every day. So like branding, sorting, trailer loading, wild cow milking. It's very entertaining. Yeah.
Sounds it.
Wild cow milking.
Wild cow milking. Yeah. But anyway, we'll also, have a lot of things for the kids going on. But the main thing and my main goal from day one is we are bringing in other nonprofits that provide resources for our vets and first responders, basically have a rallying point, a nonprofit concourse set up. So everybody that comes, the goal is for them to be able to leave with a Rolodex of information, of resources that are available to them.
That is fantastic. So that is Saturday, May 18th. If you're in Texas, it's in Mesquite, the Mesquite Rodeo, and they can sign up on your website, correct?
Yes. So actually tickets are on sale now. And if you can buy them straight through the arena, it's mesquitearena.com. And you can go straight on there and get your tickets.
All right. And I'll be putting that in the show notes as well, which will run tomorrow. So mesquitearena.com.
Yes, ma'am.
To get tickets. And, you guys are on social media, right?
Yes. Facebook and Instagram.
At what's your handle?
Ashling Equine Therapy. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. Yeah.
Right. So you can connect with them on there. And again, if you are someone who, you think traditional therapy and that's how you have to do it, you don't. There are so many different avenues out there, and equine therapy is phenomenal. It's different, and you get the benefits because you get the feedback. And I just think it's fascinating from something that's nonverbal. We are verbal. The horse is nonverbal, but it will let you know, hey, and then when your thumbs up, it will let you know. And
you can actually spill your guts to the horse.
Yeah.
You can actually spill your guts to the horse as you're walking around and let it out, vent to the horse, and he'll give you his reaction in his movements, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So go ahead and reach out to Paige. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. As you heard John say, it really opened his eyes. And we've got Darla that just chimed in that says, love everything you're doing, Paige. Can't wait for the event. So there you go. We can't wait for the event. We're looking forward to Paige seeing you in person and meeting the folks with your staff. And with that, we can't thank you enough for coming on and spending time with us on the podcast tonight and just blessing us with really unpackaging and explaining the true healing benefits of equine therapy. So thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having us.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, Paige.
Yeah,
Take
y'all have
care.
a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, well, I mean,
Powerful stuff, man.
I think this is certainly a done deal. I feel so strongly about it. And John, you and the team at A Badge of Honor, we do so many different things so that we can say, hey, this works. We already know how equine therapy works, but this is, I want to be immersed even more and having the ability to work with, my husband, with Steve, and then a family as a whole. Sky's the limit, right?
Right. And
really cool.
To be like a 1,200-pound animal, it's amazing on how just your mental state can control such a tremendous.
Yeah, your being.
Yeah. And when you really think about something like that in your inner mind, it automatically brings you down, and it gives you such a sense of peace and calm. And what'd you call it? Something hypervigilance.
Peaceful hypervigilance.
Peaceful hypervigilance. Yeah. And I think everybody should try and experience that at least once, because it is so warming, and you're able to move on from any traumas.
Absolutely. So we want to thank everybody who, tunes in every week. Thank you so much. If this is your first time, welcome. Give us a like. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. The rerun for Roku it'll be up, or I guess it'll be live on Roku tomorrow night. So we always go one day later. And, check us out on abadgeofhonor.org. That's our website. We have events of what we're doing up on the calendar. We talked about families and healing as a family and communication as a family. Come on out on the 23rd of March, which is a Saturday. This workshop is first for the first responder family. Come gain some awareness. Let's talk about communication. Let's talk about building a plan to improve communication. And then let's all go to Paige's place. We'll have to plan that. But first, registration is right on our website. You can grab your tickets for that. Space is limited. I want to thank Rowlett, the city of Rowlett, for allowing us, for welcoming us into their emergency operations center so we can do the workshop. So if you're a first responder family, you want to definitely get in on this workshop. We got breakfast for you, lunch, and all your materials are covered. So go grab a space right now. And we've also got a fundraiser coming up on April 5th, which is a Friday night. If you go to our website, boom, it'll pop up right in front of you. You can grab tickets. They're only $25, and laughter is saving lives. We're bringing in comedians from across the nation. It is
New York and Florida.
Super fun night. You can grab tickets right there, and it's at down at the beautiful Rockwall Harbor. Thank you, Sideways Barbecue, for that. And so it's for everybody, not just first responders. So again, thank you to all of the first responders out there. We are praying for you every single day. Thank you for keeping our communities safe across this nation. To our veterans, thank you for fighting the good fight that allows John and I to do a show like this and say things like chicken shit, because we can. Thank you so much. And then for our active duty personnel, active across the globe, thank you for what you're doing, keeping our shores safe here at home. John, take us home.
And I'm going to close with just keep our firefighters that are still battling that blaze, and every day keep our first responders in your prayers. And if you could be anything in this world, just be kind.
See you next week, everybody. Take care.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.